Hey John. Um, so this is a response to John Ghent's little video there on Racing Pigeon World Facebook page. John was talking about how feds are organised and all there, and I suppose I'm going to jump on the bandwagon a little bit because I've been kind of tempting the same thing as John for the last couple of years. Pigeon racing hasn't changed, especially here in Ireland. God, at least in my lifetime anyway, I'm 42. But I'm sure it can still change. I don't believe that it's gone locally. John said, nah, maybe it is. There's still quite a lot of interest here in Ireland anyway, but it's predominantly sprint racing here in Ireland, and the mentality is really, really focused on there. And the people who are on the feds, that's what they focus on. People want their results quick, they want it out. John talked about running federations one-loft entities as a business, marketing and all that. I actually agree with I agree with the thought process of running the federations and the clubs like a business. Absolutely, John, 100%. I don't actually think the one-loft mentality will work on a federation, because the one-loft entity is one loft, whereas a federation is many different ones. I do agree that it should be run as a business. I mean, there's way too many. There's not enough, first of all, marketing for the business, for the federations, but and like I said, the people who are running them, same here as in the UK, changes. It's difficult to make, difficult to get happening, and more than change, difficult to get happening. There's so much resistance to change when somebody wants to make change, and the other problem with that is to get change, you also need people there willing to make the changes. So you have to get people into the structure, the board level, the federation level, the committee level, whatever you want to call it, who have that business mentality and business head to bring on the business of the federation, rather than like you talked about, the individuals, always their own self-interest, which is normal. We're all out for self-interest as much as anything else, and there is quite a lot happening around at the moment with the one-loft races. They are very successful all over the world. I've entered a few of them myself. I've been successful in one specifically, and I was down at the World Atlantic Way one-loft race there, the final a couple of weeks back, and it was a fantastic turnout. Honest to God, a brilliant day. I didn't get to stay the whole day myself. I had to leave. I think after 8 or 10 pigeons were in, I had to head off myself. I had other things to get organised, but by all accounts, a fantastic day down there, and definitely something I would be hoping to go to again next year. But I'll go back to the running of the federations and running them like a business. I'm an advocate for change, but the problem with being an advocate for change is, to be an advocate for change, you have to be willing to take the positions where you can influence change, and that's the problem at the moment. Like John, like other people my age, probably most of us have a young family, and that's predominantly where we are. We all work. We have to go to work every day. Like John mentioned, his granddad is out in the back garden probably 8 hours a day. Perfect. I'd love to have that time to be able to do it and then be able to help on a federation, but that just isn't going to happen. Maybe in time when my family grow up, it might be something I'll be able to do. Then I'll become the dinosaur, but I still want progressive change. I know for a fact that my lifetime of pigeons here, I'm like I said, I'm 42, I'm 30 odd years. Keep pigeons, very, very little has changed, if anything, bar the reduction of numbers. There's very, very few new members in the sport, but I do think if it's marketed well and advertised well and put out there well through the homing unions, the federations, however it needs to be, but run as a business, absolutely. But the problem with that is you have to get people in there to run as a business, and nobody wants to do that, especially not voluntarily or for nominal amounts of money. So the other alternative is that you employ somebody to run it as a business, and to do that then you need the committees to be taking the advice of the individual who is now going to run your federation or your organisation as a business. And it doesn't always have to be a money-making entity, but I definitely agree with you, there has to be better prize money, more prize money, less smaller clubs, less smaller feds, amalgamate. More competition equals more money. More boardage is more money. That's the way of the game. But We get all these splinter organisations, splinter clubs, splinter feds, because of disagreements within the organisations, and it's usually because people trying to serve their own self-interest haven't thought too far to the future and decide they're going to break away from whatever federation or whatever organisation they happen to be affiliated to because they're not suiting what they want to do. I'm using myself as an example. I'm not into sprint racing. However, I have been, I'm not at the moment, but I have been a member of the South World Fed as a partnership growing up with my father all my life, and independently as well. And even though I'm not into sprint racing, I still use the federation for my training races to get the boards fit, to bring them on. I mean, and it suits me down to the ground. It's not competition I want, but it's pushing the boards, and it also adds the little bit of pocket money for everybody else to make when I pay my boards as well. But in the Set World Fed here, you could be racing up to anything as 18,000 pigeons, and like John, I am just not that dedicated to get up 6 days a week training pigeons at the crack of dawn. I enjoy looking at the boards, I enjoy having them there, I enjoy breeding, I enjoy giving them away, because a lot of people I've given them to have been successful with them, both given them to and sold them to, but mostly the ones that I've been giving away for some reason have been quite successful. So it's a funny old game. I'm just had been on the phone there with somebody else earlier on, and that's what we were talking about, and he said that of a stock loft, and he's reducing his numbers, the boards that will be kept are the boards that were given to him, because the boards that he paid big money for aren't cutting the mustard where he is. And it just happens that the boards that he was given, you know, are cutting the mustard, which is amazing to hear, like, you know. Sometimes the best ones are the gift ones. I myself have a handful there now that were all given back to me because I set some guys up, like, and I've 8 there, like, and that's it. I'm quite happy with the 8 at the moment, and that's where we'll go from there. But I'll go back to what you're talking about, John, and I'll finish on this. Yes, we need to run the organisations as a business. I fully agree with that. You mentioned Ian Evans over there, and I absolutely agree, which I'm sure he will do a lot more had he been able to, but because of the structures that are in the RPRA, his hands are tied. But then the structures have to change, and the problem with the structure changing is you need members then to vote in the changes that you don't want to vote for. It's a circular motion. It's a vicious circle in that case. Sorry, a vicious circle is what I'm looking for. So where do you go with it? Well, without progressive minds, change doesn't happen. Without people willing to accept a businessman into the fold to recommend how to improve organisations as a business, it's not going to happen. So that has to be the first protocol, and maybe that's where we can all approach our own feds. If you want change in your organisations, if you want to grow the sport to what it once was, then we need to look at the sport as a business, as John says, not as a single entity, with blinkers on and just be focusing on one way. We need to do something drastic. Mark Lyford is out there and he's trying as well. Fair play to you, Mark. Keep flying the flag. You definitely have a lot more time than I do, and you're more tech savvy than I am. You have the knowledge and the know-how to do what you're doing, and geez, I fully support you in what you're doing. So, you know, I look forward to every new thing you come up with, and you know, some of them I'm sure will work and some of them won't. That's the name of the game. But the important thing is to keep moving forward, and that's what we're not doing at the moment in the sport. We're not moving forward. We're static. Static things die. Actually, one thing John mentioned there was about fanciers being predominantly male, and actually, I was turning that on its head as I was listening to it. Yes, fancy are predominantly male, but we are getting an influx of female members. That being said, as you mentioned, more people work Saturdays and Sundays now than ever before. That's fine. The sport hasn't changed with it. But going back to treating it as a business again, you also mentioned, when you mentioned that about men being more involved with their families at present than they were before, more women are going to work. And the workplace, businesses are very successful that actually adapt to the needs of the staff, the workers. And when you translate that kind of information into the pigeon world, organisations that move forward and plan as a business and suit the needs of the fancy, the individuals keeping the boards, as a whole, not just as individuals, but as a whole, do their best to match whatever's available and whatever's needed, they're the ones that will be successful, I would say. So yeah, let's keep this conversation going. Let's see what else we can do. Mark, if you're out there, keep it moving. John, love having chats with you. Let's keep this going. Let's keep this conversation open. Let's try and get more people involved. Let's try and build momentum behind what's actually going on at the moment, and see where we can go for it. Have a good evening, lads.